Back in 1966, a soil scientist named Wim Sombrook was trekking through the Amazon rainforest, and he stumbled upon something that just shouldn't be there. Black soil, stretching down 6 feet deep, so fertile it could grow crops non-stop for 2,000 years. And this is one of the most nutrient-poor places on Earth. You know how the Amazon looks all lush and green? That's because all the good stuff is tied up in the trees themselves. The soil below, it's this toxic red clay that turns useless after you clear the forest and try farming. Nutrients wash away with the rain, and modern setups give up after maybe 2 harvests. But these patches Wim found? Coal-black earth with 3 times the organic matter, 70 times more charcoal, and 18 times the carbon compared to the junk around it. This soil had been feeding folks since way before the Roman Empire. It should have flipped agriculture on its head, a way to create lasting fertility from everyday waste, something that could feed billions without depleting the earth. But nope, it got buried. Not by chance, but on purpose. Because what he uncovered threatened a massive $27 billion industry that's all about making farmers buy fertilizer year after year. This is the tale of Terra, Preta, the black earth crafted by indigenous Amazonians using charcoal and scraps, a system that endures for centuries, not just seasons, and the big agricultural corporations that ensured it stayed hidden from us gardeners like you and me. If you're loving this deep dive into ancient soil secrets that Big Ag doesn't want you to know, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. We've got way more hidden gardening gems like this coming your way, and I don't want you to miss them. All right, let's keep going. Let's chat about the backstory that had archaeologists scratching their heads for years. Before Europeans showed up, the Amazon basin was home to between 6 and 10 million people. Not just random hunter-gatherers wandering around, we're talking organized communities with towns, trade routes, and some seriously advanced farming techniques. But here's the puzzle. The soil under that rainforest canopy is basically nutrient-free. All the valuables are in the living plants. Clear the land, burn it off, and you might get 2 decent harvests before it's barren. Yet evidence shows these societies stuck around in the same spots for thousands of years, thriving. How? The clue was in their dirt. Terra Preta de Indio, or the dark earth of the Indians. Dating back as far as 7,000 years ago, right up to about 500 years before contact, this stuff spread across maybe 150,000 square kilometers. Some spots have black earth over 6 feet deep. I mean, can you imagine digging in your garden and hitting that kind of richness? The method was straightforward but genius. Those indigenous farmers gathered charcoal from slow, low-temp fires. They'd blend it with smashed pottery, fish bones, animal manure, and kitchen scraps, then mix it all into the soil near their homes. The pottery gave it structure, bones added calcium and phosphorus, scraps fed the microbes, but charcoal, that's the star. It doesn't break down like regular compost. It sticks around for thousands of years, its sponge-like pores becoming homes for good bacteria and fungi. It grabs onto nutrients with this electrical charge, stopping them from leaching out in heavy rains. Tests show phosphorus at 200 to 400 milligrams per kilogram, 20 times higher than nearby soil. Calcium, magnesium, zinc, nitrogen, all off the charts for the Amazon. And get this, it's self-sustaining. Microbes move in, multiply, die off, and keep adding fresh matter. These Terra Preta areas even grow over time. Farmers in Brazil today hunt for these patches because they're still the best land around. For millennia, this kept millions alive in a spot where today's farming flops after a couple seasons. Pretty wild, right? Makes you wonder what else. Now, let's talk about what happened when Europeans crashed the party. In 1542, Spanish explorer Francisco de Orellana sails down the Amazon and reports seeing huge populated areas, cities stretching hundreds of kilometers, fields everywhere, populations bigger than what's there now. But fast forward 150 years, and over 90% of those people are gone, wiped out by diseases like smallpox and measles, plus conflicts. The few who survived scattered deep into the forest, taking the Terra Preta know-how with them. A technique that fed millions for ages vanished in 1 generation. For the next 3 centuries, the area just sat there. Those black earth spots stayed fertile, still growing stuff, but no one remembered how to create them. European scientists spotted the dark patches and figured they were natural, maybe weird volcanic stuff. I guess it was hard for colonial thinkers to believe indigenous folks had engineered better soil than anything they knew. They treated Terra Preta sites like odd rocks, nothing special. That changed with Wim Sombrook's book Amazon Soils in 1966. He mapped out the Black Earth's amazing fertility and how common it was. He dropped the bombshell. This was man-made. Archaeology backed him up. Every site had pottery bits, tools, signs of people living there. The charcoal wasn't from wildfires. It was from deliberate, low-oxygen burns to make char, not ash. Wim earned the title Godfather of Terra Preta in science circles. Before he passed in 2003, he threw down the gauntlet. If ancient peoples could do it, why can't we? It's a question that hits home for us gardeners. Why aren't we using this in our backyards? Fast forward to the early 2000s, and Johannes Lehmann at Cornell University figures out the chemistry that makes Terra Preta tick. The magic ingredient? Biochar. Charcoal made just for soil via pyrolysis. That's heating organic stuff to 450 to 500 degrees Celsius without oxygen. Instead of ash, you get this carbon honeycomb with 9,000 square feet of surface area per gram, like cramming 2 basketball courts into a sugar cube. It soaks up water like a pro, doling it out to roots as needed. It locks in nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, stopping them from washing away. Billions of helpful microbes set up shop in those pores, and it traps carbon for millennia. Samples from Terra Preta have carbon over 2,000 years old, still boosting fertility. The term biochar got official at a 2009 conference in England, and boom, research went global. Trials on 6 continents proved what those Amazonians knew. In the Philippines and Thailand, rice yields up 16 to 35% over 4 years. Ghana saw 30% better maize. Mediterranean wheat jumped 30%. A big review of 400-plus trials averaged 16% yield boost long-term, some crops hitting 48% with organic combos. The proof is rock solid. Biochar could reshape how we grow. So why isn't it everywhere? Well, that's where the money talks. In 2024, fertilizers raked in $27 billion. Giants like Nutrien, Yara, Mosaic, CF Industries, and ICL Group own over half. Their gig? Soil gets stripped with each crop, so farmers buy replacements yearly. Synthetics deliver quick NPK hits, but at $200 to $500 per acre annually. For a big farm, that's hundreds of thousands forever. Biochar slashes nitrogen needs by 15 to 25%, cuts phosphorus loss, boosts water hold by 10 to 30%, and lasts centuries. One dose, maybe a top-up every decade or two. Crunch the numbers, $300 per acre yearly on fertilizer, $30,000 over 100 years. Biochar, $90 to $400 a ton once, or free if you DIY from waste. That's the dagger. Farmers could turn corn stalks, prunings, husks into fertility. No patents, no yearly buys, no corporate change.
All right, let's get real about what happened next. When the fertilizer giants saw biochar on the horizon, they had a choice: adapt their business or bury the whole thing. Guess what? They went with bury, but not with shovels, sneaky, under-the-radar style through total silence. No outright bans, just crickets. Think about it. Agricultural extension services, the ones that teach farmers the ropes, are often funded by these big players. So guess what gets left out of the conversation? Biochar. Every time. Universities? They're hooked on grants from the ag industry, so their research on biochar stays minimal, tucked away in obscure papers. Even the USDA has put out a few studies acknowledging its potential, but you won't see their field agents out there demonstrating how to make it or why it works. And those glossy farming magazines, loaded with ads from fertilizer companies, they're all about hyping the newest synthetic blends, controlled release tech, and precision apps. Zero space for biochar. Now, fast forward to 2025, the global fertilizer market ballooned to over $230 billion. While biochar, it's sitting at around $859 million, growing at a solid 12 to 15% clip, but that's still a puny 0.4% slice of the pie. For a tech that could straight up replace chunks of synthetic fertilizers, it screams intentional stunting. No big scandals or conspiracies in the headlines, just quiet bureaucracy at work. Biochar isn't baked into agronomy courses at schools. It's absent from demo days at extension events, and equipment manufacturers, they're not bothering to design large-scale production gear for it. Farmers and gardeners like you can't adopt what they've never even heard of.
But here's the good news. The knowledge isn't gone. It's right there in peer-reviewed science journals, rooted in those ancient Amazonian methods and proven through trials on every continent. You don't have to wait for permission. You can dive in today. And get this, it's straightforward enough to whip up in your own backyard. No fancy setup required. Now we're getting to the good part. Let's actually make this magic happen in your own backyard. You don't need expensive kilns or lab equipment. The ancient Amazonians did this with nothing but fire, patience, and a hole in the ground. And so can you.
The whole secret is pyrolysis, heating your organic material to around 450 to 500 degrees Celsius with very little oxygen so it chars instead of burning to ash. The easiest, cheapest, and most beginner-friendly method is the cone pit. Grab a shovel, find a safe spot away from anything flammable, and dig a cone-shaped pit, about 3 feet wide at the top, tapering down to 2 feet deep. That cone shape is key. It naturally creates a flame cap that eats up oxygen before it reaches the bottom layers. Start with a small fire at the very bottom using dry twigs and kindling. Once it's going strong, start adding slightly bigger pieces of dry wood, branches, or even clean yard waste. As each layer develops that telltale white ash coating over shiny black char, add the next layer on top. Keep going, building it up slowly until you reach the rim of the pit and the top layer looks mostly ashed over black. That's your cue. Grab a bucket of water and drown the whole thing. I mean really soak it, no half measures. You want to kill every last ember instantly so it doesn't turn to ash. Let it cool completely, then scoop out your fresh biochar. It'll be lightweight, black, and full of those amazing pores. Next step, break it down. Crush it into small pieces. You can stomp it in a sturdy bag with your feet, pound it in a bucket with a piece of wood, or even run it through a simple screen. Aim for pea-sized or smaller so it mixes easily into soil. Here's the super important part most people miss. Never put fresh, naked biochar straight into your garden. It acts like a hungry sponge and will suck nutrients right out of your soil for a while. You've got to charge it first. Soak it for 24 to 48 hours in something nutrient-rich, compost tea, worm castings water, liquid kelp, fish emulsion, manure tea, even diluted urine. Yep, it works great. Nature doesn't judge. This fills those microscopic pores with goodies, so the biochar becomes a slow-release nutrient bank instead of a thief. Once it's charged, you're ready. Mix it in. You only need to do this once. Research shows great results with as little as half a ton to 2 tons per hectare for noticeable improvements, and even a generous handful worked into each planting hole will start helping right away. On bigger plots or really poor soil, 5 to 10 tons per hectare can completely transform things. That beautiful black char will sit there quietly, housing billions of beneficial microbes, holding onto water like a sponge, and slowly releasing nutrients. For your kids, maybe even your grandkids. You just turned waste into permanent garden gold. How cool is that? Now that you've got the basics down, let's level up and make your biochar work even harder for your garden. Here are some of my favorite advanced tips, little bonuses and pitfalls to watch out for so you get the absolute best results. First, let's talk about feedstocks. What you char matters a ton. For structure and long-term stability, go with hardwood chips, branches, or even corn stalks. They give you chunky, durable biochar that lasts forever. Want to boost nutrients right from the start? Mix in some manure, chicken bedding, or kitchen scraps before you pyrolyze. That way the char comes out already loaded with goodies. Just keep it natural. Never use treated lumber, painted wood, plastics, or anything with chemicals. Those toxins can lock into the char and end up in your food. Biggest rookie mistakes? Number 1, not quenching the fire completely. If you let it smolder too long, you'll end up with ash instead of char, and ash washes away fast. Drown it good. Use plenty of water and stir to make sure every ember is out. Mistake number 2, skipping the charging step. Fresh biochar is like a blank sponge. It'll pull nutrients out of your soil temporarily, starving your plants for a few weeks. Always soak it first. 24 to 48 hours in compost tea.
Worm castings, fish emulsion, kelp, manure tea, or even diluted human urine. Yes, it's safe and super effective. Plants don't care where the nitrogen comes from. That preloads the pores, so it gives instead of takes. Pro tip that I swear by: during charging, toss in some mycorrhizal fungi inoculant. Those beneficial fungi love colonizing the biochar's pores and will form partnerships with your plant roots, making them way better at pulling in water and nutrients. It's like giving your garden a permanent underground network. How to apply it? For most gardens, work it into the top 6 to 12 inches of soil. That's where the microbes are most active. If you're planting veggies, mix it with compost at a 10 to 20% ratio for a nutrient powerhouse. For perennials, fruit trees, or shrubs, you can go straight biochar, just a handful or two per planting hole. In containers or raised beds, aim for 5 to 10% by volume. Too much and it can make the mix too light and drainy. Want to see real results? Set up a little test bed. Do one side with biochar, one without, and track your yields. I've personally seen tomato plants double in production. Bigger fruits, healthier plants, less watering. And here's the bonus that makes me smile every time. Every handful of biochar you make and bury is carbon negative. You're literally pulling CO2 out of the air and locking it in your soil for centuries while growing better food. That's gardening that actually helps the planet. So experiment, have fun with it, and please, if you try this, drop your results in the comments. I love hearing what works for you. You're about to turn your garden into something special. So here we are, friends, zooming out to see the full picture of this Terra Preta story. It's honestly one of those classic tales we keep seeing in agriculture. Brilliant indigenous wisdom that's sustained entire civilizations for thousands of years gets almost completely erased through colonization and disease, gets rediscovered by modern science, and then quietly gets hushed because it threatens.
Think about how simple the core really is. A controlled fire, some charcoal, organic scraps, and time. That's it. No high-tech labs, no expensive inputs, no annual subscriptions. Yet this one technique has the power to break the endless cycle of buying fertilizer every single season, the very cycle that keeps the whole industrial ag machine running smoothly. Schools and universities? They're still teaching the same old NPK ratios, synthetic blends, controlled release formulas, and precision farming gadgets. You'll rarely, if ever, hear a professor stand up and say, hey, indigenous Amazonians actually solved soil fertility 7,000 years ago with charcoal, fish bones, and kitchen waste. Extension agents? Many of them won't touch the topic with a 10-foot pole, especially when their funding and demo plots come courtesy of the same companies selling the stuff. But the evidence isn't hidden in some secret vault. It's published in peer-reviewed journals, mapped out by archaeologists, validated in hundreds of field trials across every continent. The knowledge is out there, waiting. And the best part? You don't need anyone's permission to start. Grab some yard waste, dig that cone pit today, make your char, charge it up, and work it into your soil. Once it's in, it keeps working, quietly improving structure, holding water, feeding microbes, long after you're gone. Your garden could literally become more fertile for your kids and grandkids. That's exactly what terrifies the big players. Biochar isn't something they can slap a patent on. They can't build a monopoly around a method humans figured out 7 millennia ago. They can't force you to buy it year after year when one application lasts centuries. So, instead of competing, they chose silence. Silence is powerful. It keeps most people from even knowing the option exists. But silence only works as long as we start asking questions. And right now, you're asking. You know the black earth is real. The science is rock solid. The method is straightforward and completely doable at home. What's been buried under layers of corporate interests and agricultural dogma is finally seeing daylight again, because gardeners like you are digging it back up. This isn't just about better soil. It's about independence, about taking back control of how we grow our food, about honoring ancient knowledge that actually works. The choice is in your hands now. Keep feeding the yearly fertilizer machine, or start building something permanent, something that outlasts trends, profits, and even us. So, what's your move? Keep shelling for fertilizers yearly, or grab a shovel this weekend and channel those Amazonians? Terra Preta spots still thrive after 2,000 years. Your garden could too.
If this fired you up, hit like, subscribe to SproutCycle Garden for more hidden gems, and drop in comments, ever tried biochar? What's your soil struggle? Share this to spread the word. Thanks for hanging out. Let's grow smarter together. Catch you next time.